Hey guys, Ms. Burns here. We're looking at section P.4 in this video. So this is on polynomials, combining like terms, adding and subtracting polynomials, and multiplying polynomials. So let's get started. So if we look at the guided notes for section P.4, the first example, we have 5y squared plus 6y minus 3 plus 2y squared minus 5y minus, and then in parentheses, negative 4y cubed plus 5y squared minus 7, close parentheses. So there's no directions here, but what I think they want us to do is simplify or combine these terms. So when we add them, the parentheses are just for grouping purposes. So in other words, it's this first polynomial plus the second polynomial. Now, minus this third polynomial, and this negative sign, one thing you have to be careful of is that has to be distributed. So what I find easiest for these is just drop the parentheses and rewrite each individual term with whatever its appropriate sign would be. So we would have 5y squared plus 6y minus 3 plus 2y squared minus 5y, and then this negative has to get distributed, so each of these changes sign. So the 4y cubed becomes positive 4y cubed minus 5y squared and then plus 7. Now then just kind of step back and look at all your terms, and anything that's a like term we're going to go ahead and combine the coefficients for. So you'll notice we have a y squared, 5y squared, 2y squared, and a negative 5y squared. So 5y squared plus 2y squared is 7y squared, negative 5y squared, that leaves us with just 2y squared. And if it helps, go ahead and cross those terms out as you combine them. We have a 4y cubed. I noticed that was the higher power. I probably should have started with that, but the order you write these in really doesn't make a difference. So let me go ahead and just put the 4y cubed. There's no other y cubed terms that it's going to combine with. So we're going to have plus 4y cubed. And then we have a positive 6y and a negative 5y, so that's going to leave me with positive 1y, so I'm going to cross those out. And then we have the constants negative 3 and positive 7, so that's going to leave me with a positive 4. And that's going to be our final answer. All the terms are combined. Let's take a look at example 2. This time they want us to multiply the two polynomials. So we've got in one parentheses 5x squared y plus 2x. And in the other parentheses, we have 5x squared y minus 2x. So if you'll remember from high school, you might have learned something when you have two binomials. These are called binomials, bi meaning two, so that each one has two terms. You might remember seeing something called the FOIL method, and if you remember, that stood for first, outer, inner, last. I think that's how most teachers go ahead and multiply these out. So that's the method I'm going to use. The first terms are 5x squared y and 5x squared y. So we're going to multiply 5x squared y times 5x squared y. That gives me 25. We got to add the exponent since we're multiplying the terms. So that's x to the fourth, y to the second. So that takes care of the f in FOIL. Those are the first terms. O stands for outer. So the outer terms are 5x squared y and negative 2x. So that gives me negative 10 x cubed y. The inner terms are positive 2x and 5x squared y. So that gives me a positive 10 x cubed y. And then the last terms are the 2x and the negative 2x. So that's going to give me negative 4x squared. And at the end, let's double check if you have any like terms. You'll notice the x cubed y are like terms. We have a negative 10 and a positive 10, so those cross out. So that gives me 25 x to the fourth y squared minus 4x squared, and that's completely simplified. Example 3, we're multiplying again. This time we're multiplying a binomial times a trinomial. So we have parentheses 2x plus 3, close parentheses, and then open parentheses x squared plus 4x plus 5, close parentheses. So what we're going to do is we're going to distribute, and that, by the way, that's the same thing we did here with this FOIL method. We distributed everything in the first set of parentheses by everything in the second set of parentheses. We're going to do the same thing here. We don't have an acronym like FOIL to help us remember what to do. Just make sure that everything in the first set of parentheses gets multiplied by everything in the second set of parentheses. So I'm going to start with the 2x. So we have 2x times x is 2x cubed. And then I'm going to multiply the 2x times the 4x, so that gives me 8x squared, and then 2x times 5, which gives me positive 10x. Sometimes teachers will draw like little arrows on their paper. If that helps you and you did it that way in high school, that's fine. I think it gets a little confusing when I do that. So I just try to point to each term as I'm using it. Now I'm going to go over to the 3. So we have 3 times x squared. I'm going to write it in the next line. That gives me a positive 3x squared. 3 times 4x is going to give me a positive 12x. And then 3 times 5 is going to give me a positive 15. Now if we have any like terms, let's go ahead and put them together. So we have 2x cubed plus 8x squared and 3x squared gives me 11x squared. And then we've got 10x and 12x, which gives me 22x, and then a positive 15. And that's our multiplied polynomial. The last example, and I think this is probably the most important example on this page, so pay really close attention to this question. We're asked to square a binomial. So we have 3x plus 7 squared. It's so tempting to just say square each of these and call it a day. That is not correct. So this is what I do not want to see on your paper. I don't want to see this. Okay, this is absolutely incorrect. You can't do it that way. What you need to remember is that 3x plus 7 squared is the same as saying 3x plus 7 in one parentheses times 3x plus 7 in the other parentheses. You have to write this twice when you square it. This is really, really important, guys. Don't forget this. And then we're going to go ahead back to what we did earlier, and we can use the FOIL method because we're multiplying 2 binomials. So we have 3x times 3x gives me 9x squared. 3x times 7 gives me 21x. And 7 times 3x gives me 21x again. And 7 times 7 gives you 49. And you see, if you didn't do this, you're going to miss this middle term. And that's why what I did first is completely wrong. If you do that, you're going to mess up a lot of questions in our class this semester. So make sure you write it twice. And remember, you have to FOIL. Now at the end, you have like terms. So let's go ahead and combine those. We have 9x squared plus 21x and 21x is 42x plus 49 at the very end.